Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday. Hi, Jace. Hi, Missy. Hi, Jay. Hi, Brianna. Hi, Elle. I'm like going through the list. Hi, New Nubian. Hi, Cassandra. Hi, Sick Flare. I'm a little late. I was on time for like the first time in a long time, and then that went out the window because I realized today we are not having wine. We are having a cocktail. So thank you to Bombade. They sent me this lovely Black-owned spirit. It is Bombade lemonade flavored vodka. So y'all know I usually mostly drink wine. However, they were so kind to send this to me. So I was like, okay, we're going to have this. Hi, Liberated Life. We're going to have this. Hey, Jessica. Hi, Danielle. We're going to have this today. So I think they're in a lot of the stores in the South. So if you're in the South, you should go check them out. Pomade. So thank you to them. And I attempted to make a cocktail, which, child, I don't really know how to do that. So we're going to see how this tastes. Okay, that's not true. I can make a, what's the thing? A mule. I actually can make a mule with ginger beer. Surprisingly, right? So this is not fancy what I made. I don't know why I'm opening it like I'm about to show y'all what's in it. It's just that, and then I don't really have juice either in my child. I just got back from Arizona. So basically, what I should have done is went and got some of the Simply Lemonade. That would have probably been great, but I didn't go outside all day because I had work, and I work from home. So instead, there is like citrus tea, something, child. I'm sure it will taste fine. So let's see how this tastes. And if it's not a reflection on that at all. Oh, this is actually good. I'm surprised. I'm happily surprised. I was a little bit nervous. I'm not going to lie, because y'all know that wine is just easier. So yeah, so highly recommend you guys to check them out. And it's Black owned, which is great. Listen, Moscow Mule is the best. And if you want to get fancy, a Mezcal Mule is really good. Like Mezcal, I actually really like. So yeah, so welcome to Wine and Chill. And today, I guess what we're going to call it is Thirsty Thursdays. I don't know. I liked Weekend Wind Down, but now it's on Thursday, so I kind of need help with the name. So it is Bombade, which hopefully the algorithm doesn't think I'm like saying B-O-M-B. It's B-O-M-A-D-E. Let me see their website, and then I'll put it in the chat for you guys. One second. Here you go. All right. Verify that you are 21. Past that stage many moons ago. Yeah, so if you think of a better name than Thirsty Thursday, because I'm sure there's a much better name, let me know, and I'm happy to change it. But yes, so today on our agenda, we are going to talk about Miss Naomi Osaka reclaiming her time, and good for her, and telling people to leave her the hell alone. We are going to talk about the contract police, aka the tennis associations, and why they're so upset, and how they have semi-backpedaled out of their rudeness. They're still rude. And then we're going to do, is this the first time? No, we've done discrimination before, but a different view of employment law. We're going to do a brief employment law primer regarding accommodations. And then last but not least, my favorite thing to talk about, life is more important than work, than your job. So your health is more important than contracts. And then any questions. Also, shout out to me for finally figuring out the technology before I started this. This is the smoothest intro we've ever had. I just want to say that. Okay, so if you're not familiar with what happened, so Naomi Osaka is a huge tennis player. We all know this. She is of Japanese and Haitian descent. So she is Black and Asian, and that is how she identifies. So don't be arguing in the comments with me about that. So she put out this statement a few days ago on her social media saying like, hey, I am not going to do any press during her next tournament, which is Roland Garros, which is in Paris. And specifically that she felt that people have no regard for athletes' mental health, which is true. And so I'm just going to paraphrase it. I'll let you guys read it because y'all can see it. And so she's like, feels like she's being asked multiple questions, and she's not going to subject herself to that and to have people doubt her, which there are numerous videos of people asking her like asinine nonsense, as they do. So she said that. And then I'm just going to like paraphrase down to the end. Me not doing press is nothing personal to the tournament, and a couple of journalists have interviewed me since I was young, so I have a friendly relationship with them. However, if the organization thinks that they can just keep saying do press or you're going to be fine and continue to ignore the mental health of athletes that are the centerpiece of their cooperation, then I just gotta laugh. Anyways, I hope the considerable amount that I get fined for this will go towards a mental health charity. Sis said, I said what I said, to which the French, in all their Frenchness, not to be outdone, issued a statement that was quite dense, as usual. So this is the statement from Roland Garros, following the lack of engagement by Naomi Osaka, which she already stated, hey, I'm depressed. I have depression, which would mean that obviously I'm not going to engage with you. Google the definition of depression. But mess. So, for the lack of engagement by Naomi Osaka, the Australian Open, Roland Garros, Wimbledon, and the U.S. Open jointly wrote her to check in on her well-being. So not only did they loop in themselves, they looped in the other four major tournaments for tennis, and then said that she was also reminded of her obligations, the consequences of not meeting them, and that rules should equally apply to all players. So Naomi Osaka today chose not to honor her contractual media obligations. The Roland Garros referee has therefore issued her a $15,000 fine in keeping with Article 3H of the Code of Conduct. So, to the contract police, you get paid by playing the game. What does talking to the press have to do with playing the game? Nothing. A contract is simply, if you don't abide by this contract, then you have to pay. She paid, so what's the problem? What people want people to bend over backwards and be like, you have to do this, you have to do this. Well, if you don't do it, you pay the fine. She paid the fine. So what else is she supposed to do? What else is supposed to happen? I'm genuinely curious by the people that are like, oh my gosh, I'm so upset that she doesn't want to talk. Okay. And when you violate a contract, there are stipulations, and she already agreed. Okay, I'll pay the fine. Donate it to mental health, please. All right. So, a reminder, because the public seems to forget, and by the public, I mean certain people. Exactly. They just want to continue to antagonize somebody. Because to be honest, as somebody who is an avid sports fan and somebody who back in the day when the Heat tickets used to be dead cheap, I mean like before Shaq joined the Heat, and they like cost nothing. We used to have season tickets, and me, my dad, and my brother would go. Child, the actual fans do not care about press. The actual fans, when it comes down to fourth quarter and it's like, okay, cool, we're almost done. Ease on down towards the exit, catch the last shot, and then run to the car. Because who is about to fight the traffic? But the press likes to make themselves think that they're more important than they are. So in case people have forgotten what the press and fans have done to Naomi, here is a brief reminder. Unlikely, she said this started in 2018, likely the incident that kicked all of this off. So forced her to apologize for winning. Were so awful to her, and then people wonder, oh, well, it's convenient for you to bring it up now. It's not convenient. She's been saying this for years. And we're going to get exactly to that, to the racial dynamic of it. Thank you. Oh, thank you, James. Yes, please go ahead and like the video if you haven't already. Okay, so let's get back to that. I just wanted a brief reminder because people seem to forget that these are humans too, humans that are paid to play a game. We have advised Naomi Osaka that should she continue to ignore her media obligations during the tournament, she would be exposing herself to possible further code of conduct infringement consequences. Okay? As might be expected, repeat violations attract to tougher sanctions, including default from the tournament. And lawyers will be lawyers, citation, and the trigger of a major offense investigation that could lead to more substantial fines and future Grand Slam suspensions. Mind you, this is after she said, hey, I have depression and I simply don't want to talk to people. Okay. Continuing on, we want to underline that rules are in place to ensure that all players are treated exactly the same, no matter their stature, beliefs, or achievement. French people, having worked at a French company, really have this belief that they treat people the same, which I find very interesting. It's not true. All right. So last, we're going to go to like the last paragraph. Finally, all Grand Slams remain committed to continually reviewing and discussing opportunities together with the tours and the players to improve every aspect of the player experience, including with the media. But we consider this is only ever achieved through, I skipped the part that I wanted to tell you. Hold on. Where is the big giant? As sport is nothing more consuming. Okay, so actually we'll do like the last sentence of the second paragraph, which unfortunately is the case in this situation if one player refuses to dedicate time to participate in media commitments while the others all honor their commitments. Are all of the others facing depression? What does it matter what the others are doing? What does it matter? I'm confused. Did every tennis player come out and say, we all have depression, but we're still going? No, one person said, hey, I'm over here, leading. Blood honey, child. Ask a European Black person how they feel about France. That's all I'm going to say there, and we'll talk about it later. Just ask them. So everybody, no one else said, hey, I'm depressed, but I too am going to the media commitment. No, she simply said, hey, I don't want to go. I have depression. Is that okay? Okay, it's not okay. Happy to give you the money because, honey, I have much coins to give. So that was that. Exactly. It's not a team sport. And again, it happens before and after the game. This adds nothing to the game, the match. Before y'all come in the comments, oh, you don't know about tennis? I know enough. Okay, cool. So let's continue. All right, so we are going to do a brief employment law primer because I read this very interesting article, which if you look in the description, because I'm ahead today, I have linked the article, and the article is by Professor Scott Douglas Gerber, which it didn't say professor there, but he's a professor when I looked him up, which is very interesting. And I like to shout out the professors. So he is a law professor. And basically, he wrote an article today about talking about that not only is this grossly inappropriate, but this also might be an employment law violation in France and in the US, which I thought was very interesting and a very interesting take on all of it. Oh, see, I'm just saying. All right, so, and he's like the first person I've seen saying this. Most people are coming from it from an empathetic side, which people should be empathetic, but also this may or may not be illegal actions, which I think is very interesting from the legal perspective. So in employment law, we're going to talk about the US first, and then obviously I'm not French, but I'm very small. I'm going to be very honest. Very vaguely familiar with French law, having worked at a French company. So I am not going to speak to that since I'm not familiar. And also, it's a great segue into this is not legal advice. You know my whole spiel that I give you. It's for entertainment purposes only. Read the description. Read the disclaimer down the description box. Okay, cool. So a brief employment law primer regarding accommodation. So accommodation is when you tell your employer, hey, I have XYZ condition, I have XYZ issue, and I need a reasonable accommodation. So in the US, this is covered by the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and FEMLA, or FMLA, depending on who you ask, they pronounce it differently, which is the Family and Medical Leave Act. Under both acts, you are allowed to ask for something reasonable. So for example, say that you have severe anxiety and say you're like, okay, every day, I just get really anxious. However, if I could come into work at 12 and start my work day at home with my work computer, is that okay? That will help me at least ease into my day. I don't have to cross the bridge at 9 a.m. with all these other people. My anxiety won't go through the roof, etc. All my work will get done. That is a reasonable request. So you submit that to your employer, and your employer is likely going to send it through their ADA. They usually outsource these things, to be honest, and they will approve it through your insurance. And then you have that accommodation. They let your manager know, hey, so-and-so, to accommodate their this is their accommodation, and they generally won't tell your manager what exactly it is. Like, you don't have to disclose to your manager, like, hey, I have XYZ, but legally they have to do that. So hello. But legally they have to do that. Okay, so that's what the accommodation is. So Professor Scott, in his very interesting article, which I highly recommend you read it in depth, basically said that these governing authorities are likely violating not only French law, but US law, because they roped the US Open into it. Because I don't know why all of them decided to sign their name to this statement that we started going through. We're going to go through a little bit more. So basically, we're going to go, let's say we can just start with the beginning of it. Highly recommend though, read the article. So the governing authorities of tennis's 4 Grand Slam tournaments should have learned from Osaka and Williams before her first match at the French Open. Osaka had informed tournament officials that news conferences adversely impacted her mental health, which she has stated multiple times, and that she would be willing to be fined for not participating in them during the tournament. So she's saying like, hey, I don't have a problem. I'm not arguing with you about the money. You want the money, honey? I have plenty of it. Take it. She also said she hoped that any fine she paid would be donated to a mental health charity. So that was her statement, she said. Shockingly, not only did the president of the French Tennis Federation, I mean, I'm not shocked. I don't think y'all are shocked either, not agree to Osaka's reasonable request for an accommodation. So this is her asking for an accommodation like, hey, you know, this is giving me very bad anxiety. Like this is giving me a lot of depression. Like this is exaggerating my depression. I don't want to do it. You know, can I do it later? He persuaded the heads of the other 3 Grand Slams, the US Open, Wimbledon, and the Australian Open, to publicly release the contents of a letter they wrote to Osaka in which they threatened to disqualify Osaka from all 4 tournaments, which we're going to get into that. So he basically called them all co-conspirators, which made me laugh. He said, all y'all are conspiring and all of y'all have violated multiple laws, which I got a good chuckle out of that because that is an interpretation of it. To be honest, from a legal standpoint, that's what it seemed to me when I was reading it. My first thought was, okay, well, she said like, I'll pay for it. Okay, I can't do this right now. To which instead of them saying, okay, that's fine. You know, we already sold the tickets for people to see this anyway. It's totally fine. You're still going to play. Hi, CC Funk. They instead were like, we're going to bully her into this and write her this nasty letter and then publish the nasty letter to publicly shame her into doing this, which backfired on them, royally backfired on them. Okay, so let's go to the next part. Okay. So this is the French version of our ADA here in the US. And I'm saying it like that because I don't speak French, so I don't exactly know like apples to apples. But when I was reading up on it, it is similar. I am not going to try and pronounce this for you in French because it will sound awful. But yes, so in France, they do have reasonable accommodation provided by employers is supported by various forms of financial assistance. Oh, money given through labor contract and institutions such as AGEFIPH in France. So I have linked them down below. If you can translate it. I translated it on Google. So if you actually wanted to read it, you could translate it on Google and like read through like what are the French accommodation. To be very honest, what I find interesting is Europe always has better employment laws than the US. So with their much more robust employment laws, I don't know why they would fix their face to then come at her like this in such a public manner and now get this public flogging that they're getting. It just seems stupid. Like sometimes people think that they can bully certain people and that they're just going to back down. And I feel like they bit off way more they can chew, which good for her. Good for her. Okay. So we are going to go. So after they said their statement and they made that whole hullabaloo of their statement and we're like, oh, you know, we told her she can't get treated differently. We can't do all of this. We can't do that. She then released another statement, which this is on her Instagram. Listen, I want to talk about it at the end, so remind me if I forget to talk about it, but I've realized a lot of people think it's okay to accept abuse from their employer because they don't realize that there are laws there to protect them. And a lot of people pushing back on, why is she not going to do this? Why is she not going to do the press? Are people who have accepted abuse at work and think, oh, well, because I get treated bad at work, everyone needs to get treated bad. No, or you could just stand up for yourself and stop getting treated bad. A thought. Okay, so let's go. I'm not going to read the whole thing because you can see it, but I do like that she came with the receipts and that she basically told them like, don't lie on me. Don't do any of this. So we're going to on the left-hand side. So the truth is that I have suffered long bouts of depression since the US Open in 2018, and I have had a really hard time coping with that. Mind you, we just watched the video of her playing her icon, Serena, and having the crowd boo her apologize for winning against her icon. Like, I think people don't think about, like, how does that feel? Like, would you get over that? Probably not. Okay, so on the right-hand side, I get really nervous and find it stressful to always try to engage and give you the best answers I can. So here in Paris, I was already feeling vulnerable and anxious, so I thought it was better to exercise self-care and skip the press conferences. I announced it preemptively because I do feel like the rules are quite outdated in parts, and I wanted to highlight that. I wrote privately to the tournament apologizing. So they were not like blindsided by this, and saying that I would be more than happy to speak with them after the tournament as the slams are intense. I'm going to take some time away from the court now, but when the time is right, I really want to work with the tour to discuss ways we can make things better for the players, press, and fans. Anyways, hope you're all doing well and staying safe. Love you guys. I'll see you when I see you. So, what did the big bully them achieve? Nothing. Not only is one of their top players not going to attend now, she's not going to play because now y'all have further exacerbated the issue. You now look stupid and you have to apologize, which now they are backpedaling, trying to apologize and half-ass apologize. Like, let's be honest. And trying to say, oh, well, we didn't know the depth of the situation. Anybody with 2 brain cells could watch the multiple videos of her winning, crying, saying, I'm just sad. I'm just sad to be here. I saw one video and I wanted to link it and then I lost the video of her literally winning wasn't the Grand Slam, a different one, and saying, and the press asking her questions and her just saying, I'm just sad. I'm just sad. Hello. And we're going to talk about the racial aspect as well. This is the same institution that fined Serena for wearing the cat suit after she was pregnant. So I'm just going to put that out there. Oh, I'm Jamaican, Teresa. Exactly. They're out here looking very foolish. Okay. So with all of that negativity her way, there was a lot of positivity, which I do want to highlight. So I did take, thank you, top player. Thank you for correcting me, Blood Honey. Because I knew in my mind, but you know how you don't ever want to be wrong? I'm like, it's one of the top or the top. But yes, the top player, numero uno. So they have ostracized their prize pony. For what? To make what point? That they have no sense? Okay, so before we get into the questions in the next part, I did want to highlight a lot of athletes came to her aid. And of course, there were foolish press people like Piers Morgan, who has gotten fired, but still likes to run his mouth, being upset that he wasn't allowed to, I guess, use somebody's past to berate her. Who knows? But yes. So I thought this was a great point. So y'all know I don't really know how Twitter works. I think the bottom one is the original tweet, and then the top one is the response. Correct me if I'm wrong. So Mike Freeman, with tennis threatening to default Naomi Osaka for not speaking to the press, is an absolute disgrace. Just trash, absolute trash from a bunch of goon bullies and clowns. And it's also stupid. Tell them, Mike. And then Annie Apple, Surviving America. Girl, that could be a movie. The sports power that be is used to controlling athletes with money and access. Naomi isn't ruled by either, and they don't know what to do with themselves. From NBA women players leading social activism to Naomi Osaka, the women are just built differently, powerfully. I stand us. Exactly, the women, particularly the Black women. And yes, Black and Asian. She is Black and Asian, because people are always going to be like, oh, you didn't say the other part. Both, yes. So Omar Sacker, I thought this was it all could have been so easy. Again, it could all been so easy. So imagine if the response to Osaka had been, we're sorry that you're struggling. Of course you can skip the post-match press. We can have counselors made available also. Wow, the thought. Perhaps there's a more suitable way for you to communicate with press. My reading is great today. Let's discuss it when you're ready. It could have really been so simple. Instead of them writing out a backhanded threatening statement saying, well, we have all these services. Where are the services? Where are the services then? You're saying you have the services. You spend all this money on the services. Where are the services? Will you speak on her contractual obligations? So that I don't know because I haven't seen her contracts. If she's in breach of contract with them, I'm not sure. She didn't mention it. So for now, we can go on the assumption that she's only in breach of contract with the tennis associations, which they stated she is, and they listed their articles. So we'll keep it at that. Okay. And then we're going to go on to some more. And then we're going to do, y'all, I forgot what the agenda is. I think it's like questions next. We'll see. Okay. So Matt Haig, think of how the media treats women who speak about their mental health, from Naomi Osaka to Meghan Markle, from Princess Diana to Amy Winehouse, from reality TV stars to royalty. The women change, the will to humiliate doesn't, which I think that's important to say. The will to humiliate women is high. Child, you can see the audacity on YouTube. The will for strangers to get an osmosis legal degree to think that they could combat me sometimes is comical. It's comical. It is deeply rotten, outdated, and needed change. All right. So now we have Bria M. Johnson. Naomi Osaka is demonstrating the power of refusal, to refuse to work at the expense of our health, wellness, and more, to refuse humiliation under the guise of professionalism. It is not professional, and this is one time for the corporate Negroes, it is not professionalism to have to cry in the bathroom at work. It's not professionalism. It is abuse. It is abuse. Refusal is beautiful. It's even better when we do it collectively. Support her and workers who aren't rich. Okay. Especially Black women. Yes. All right. So because I done forgot what our agenda is, let me see one more time. Go back to our agenda. Okay, good. I thought we are or I said we were. Okay. So health is more important than contracts. Health is more important than work. Health is more important. What is the purpose of you having a job if you drop dead because you're stressed? What is the reason? What is the reason? And I'm saying this to y'all and saying it to myself too. Because I need to put in some actual vacation time. I'm going to bring this back to myself since it's my corner of the internet in 2 seconds, but it's very interesting. We'll finish talking about this. So yes. So if you guys want, we can do some call-ins. Charles, it's been so long. It's been like 1 week. And I'm like, how does this work right now? Okay. So we're going to do that. And then we can talk about that. I think this was like a very interesting point from Liberated Life. I also just had the thought that maybe they really intended to push her to the point of quitting. Maybe tired of dark-skinned athletes winning. And also this millennial hate going around. Is she millennial or Gen Z? I never know. But yeah, it's interesting. And certain people in these federations they don't even try to hide their disdain and disregard over the years for Venus, Serena, and now Naomi. Just utter disdain. The things that people have said to Serena are wild, completely inappropriate. Have like called her a monkey, which what's more racist? Besides saying the actual word, what's more racist? So I wouldn't put it past these people, to be honest, y'all. I don't put anything past people anymore. Sad. Exactly. The youth are not soft. The youth, and I'm hopefully still youth adjacent. The youth just don't want to take people's BS. And the youth shouldn't take people's BS, because why? The youth deserve better. What is the purpose? What is really the purpose? So she's Gen Z. Okay, that's what I thought. Oh, you're fine. You're fine, Liberty Life. I'm always like, which one is it, child? Who knows how to use a TikTok? That's how I know. Because the TikTok, I don't know how to use it. L. Robinson, you're a smart person. Everybody I know that has gone into consulting likes it considerably better, because then you are based on like, okay, these are the hours. This is when I'm working. I don't have to politic with you. You sign my contract, and this is that. So. Oh, it's not even just the men, JB. The women, the women too. Middle-aged, young of them, trifling of them, some of them. So yes. Oh, I like Coco Gauff. Yes, this is a good one. I think she's still playing. I think so. She did very well. Admittedly, I'm more of a basketball than a tennis, so admittedly. And also admittedly, I haven't been watching the playoffs. I'm just going to be honest. Okay, so All right, so we're going to take some calls. There was one thing before I take this call I wanted to say, in case I forget to say it. If you have PTO, paid time off, whether it's unlimited, tech loves to play unlimited PTO. It's a scam. We could talk about that in a second. Or if you have I have 15 days, I have 20 days, take your time off. Don't let these companies just run you into the ground. I feel like half of these lives, I'm telling y'all that being a corporate Negro is a rough life, because it is. And I want to encourage you that it's going to continue to be a rough life, whether you choose to do it or not to do it. So prioritize your mental health. I think it's awesome to see somebody of Naomi's caliber do it and say okay, I don't care. I don't care. There is an amount of privilege, to be honest, to say hey, I got the money, honey. If you have the money and if you can put yourself in a situation to have the money, please prioritize yourself, because it's not worth it. They'll replace you tomorrow. They'll replace me tomorrow. So for context, before I take this call, I took one day off last week of work, right? One day I took off. We had Monday off for Memorial Day. I was I'm going to take off Friday. I'm going to go to Arizona. I'm going to go see Shayna. Highly recommend Arizona. It's the calmest I felt since before the pandemic. Wow. Who knew? I didn't know. Hidden gem. So calm. Go to Arizona. We went to Sedona, went to Phoenix. Loved it. The food was good. People were nice. It was great. I took one day off. Why did I get into Tuesday and people are how was your vacation? My what? Excuse me? I took one day off. It's not vacation. What are you talking about? And people sit there and they're just looking at you and oh, you took a day off? Yep, I did. It was lovely to take a break. Yes, take your day off. Take your day off. Please take your day off. Oh, Karine, the Knicks. They won the one game. God bless them. God bless them. Listen, Arizona compared to New York, I loved it. But yes, so we can have a balanced opinion. Tashana said it's all right. So, ask her for the nitty gritty about living there. Visiting, highly recommend. Just saying. Sedona, man, I just sat there with my arms open on a mountain and was oh, there's breeze. All right, so let's take this call from Blood Honey. Hello, how are you?
Good evening. How are you?
Good. It's the first time you're calling in. I'm so excited.
I know. Well, I was watching you fluently operate StreamYard and thinking about how far you've come.
Oh,
such an inspiration.
Coming so far. Woo.
I actually don't have that much to say about Naomi Osaka, the whole ordeal that the poor thing has been put through, which is absolutely horrendous. But since you were talking about paid leave, and I guess most of your listeners are in the States, I'm in the UK. If you can't tell from my accent,
there's a good section of you in the UK.
But I was just reflecting on the amount of paid leave that the statutory annual paid leave entitlement, if you're a 5-day work weeker in the UK, is 28 days, which is about 5.5 weeks.
We have zero statutory federally mandated days,
which is a madness.
America, it's a sickness. This place is a sickness.
Yeah, so I think since we're talking about your wonderfully leading us and encouraging us to think about things that we are entitled to, our rights, it's always useful to dwell on the workers' movement and what gained us those rights. Things like a 8-hour day, a 5-day week are all things that were gained through people protesting and doing what Naomi is doing right now, which is refusing their labor, which AKA is also known as striking when you do it in an organized way amongst workers. So and that's certainly how things like pensions and mandatory statutory paid leave in the UK was gained. So that's, and I also wanted to tell you, I love the way that you coordinated your earrings to your top.
Oh, thank you.
So that was the other thing.
The lesson I think for the US audience is maybe we should just strike.
Well, I think it's
we're
a bit
so
wild
individualistic and silly over here.
It's a bit wild for me sometimes watching the conversations about unionization in the States and how much animosity there is to workers organizing themselves. For as much as France is an incredibly racist country, when the workers time to set down tools and
That's true.
set things alight. Basically, France is writing every year. The workers in France, the farmers are blockading, dustbin men is setting things on fire.
When they struck at the airport and then nobody was leaving out of Charles de Gaulle for like a week.
French workers don't play, which is why it's so surprising that the French Open is carrying on. I mean, as you've illustrated to us, that they're carrying on the way they are. So a question for you though, is Naomi considered an employee, or is she a contracted freelancer? You know, what's her status?
That I'm very curious about, which is why I was curious when I read Professor Scott, I forgot the man's last name already, Professor Gerber's article was, I think he's operating on the assumption that she's an employee, which in the US, there are very different laws if you're an employee or a contract worker. If you're a contract worker, you have no rights. Little to none. Discrimination, of course, you can never discriminate against people, like you will get sued. But in terms of leave, they don't have to give you any, which is like very interesting. Or in accommodations, Americans with Disabilities Act, it is a little bit different in the US. So I'm curious if in France, which the AGEFIPH website is in French. So I translated some of it to just kind of get a sense for it, but I didn't get to the employee versus contract worker part. But that's an important part. That's one of, at least in the US, that is like the big draw to be an employee, is that you have more protections. What little protections you have in the US, you get them when you're an employee.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So in the UK, one of the biggest or one of the most significant issues right now with regards to workers is the rise in the amount of zero contract hours that companies are starting to do, especially as a means of limiting the amount of what's often called on cost, the amount of costs that an employee costs a company. So everything from everything from additional leave, sick leave, anything that goes above your mandatory statutory sick leave. Oh, we get that as well. We get sick leave, we get paid sick leave as well, which are not available if you're on a zero contract hours. Zero hours contract rather. So
yeah, it's very interesting how these companies structure things for they have like the maximum benefit for them. And then the least
and that's how it works in a capitalist society. Exactly. But since and before I go, and since I'm here rabbiting on about the labor movement, let me encourage everybody to look up the history of the labor movement in the Caribbean.
Ooh, okay, I'm excited about that. I'm going to look that up. I will report that.
Yeah, so especially the 1930s labor rebellions, which was happening because so people often think that after slavery was abolished in the Caribbean, that sugar continued to be one of the main employees for workers in the Caribbean, and most of the sugar was owned by 3 companies. And what the workers, it began in really Barbados and it spread throughout the Caribbean in the late 1930s. What people started to do was basically to withdraw their labor to strike as a means of demanding to be paid more than starvation wages. History is shaped by television is that we always forget those who fought for the rights that we take for granted, or the rights that are being restricted from us today, or try to. So yeah, wherever you are, it's always useful to look up the labor movement of where you are, and to think about what is the role of, or what was the role of Black folk and Black workers within those labor movements wherever you are, because African and African descended people are one of the major labor forces. That's the whole reason why we're in the Western Hemisphere. One of the major labor forces of modern society.
Stolen from Africa. I won't sing.
Yeah. You can sing, but you can always sing Bob. You always get a play for Bob.
That reminds me of, so my family is from St. Thomas Parish, not St. Thomas, the country, because people are always confused. St. Thomas Parish in Jamaica, forgotten parish. The Morant Bay Rebellion was about that, where the recently freed Jamaicans decided to rebel against their white British governor. And we're like, hello, you're not giving us any money. Like, what's going on? And actually, George William Gordon. I always forget his name.
National hero.
Yes. There you go. There you go. So you guys should look that up. Thank you for bringing that up. That's actually very important to learn. We're always at the center of it.
Yeah, and that's an important thing for us to realize. Not only at the center of it, but also in leadership roles as well. Yes, big up yourself, Sophia Princess.
Yes.
But anyway, I'll leave. Yeah, and yeah, as you mentioned the Moreton Bay Rebellion, and once we mentioned George William Gordon, I always get his names in the wrong order as well.
Me too. I'm like, they're all a first name. So I have 3 first names too. So I'm like, what is it? I don't know.
We should mention Paul Bogle as well.
Yes.
And the Moreton Bay Rebellion was again a situation post abolition of slavery where people were still having to work in conditions that were not too dissimilar from slavery.
Exactly.
So it's important things to remember
for the U.S. people. Similar to sharecropping.
Yes.
No agency.
But yes, ma'am, big up yourself and your status and your lovely rhinestones.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you for calling in. I appreciate it.
That's okay. I'm glad to participate.
And late.
Listen, I should be going to my bed.
I appreciate you.
Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right. So we're gonna add Jace and then add Kareen. Hello, Jace. How are you?
Hello. I'm actually very good today.
Yay! I'm glad you're good. That makes me happy.
So after about a month and people basically about to riot against the IRS, they started sending out the extra money that we were owed from our unemployment because they recently, in the American Rescue Plan, they were like, oh, the first $10,000 or so isn't taxed. And I finally got mine and I'm just like, ooh, happy dance. I can, pay for some dental work because I need some dental work done. So we in a good mood today.
Self-care, health, do it. It's not even minimum things that should be free. Not even self-care.
I mean, honestly, though, you're right, though.
Why does it cost money? Tax is so high. I'm just very confused why we don't have universal health care. But anyways, that's a separate rant.
So firstly, I always think it's funny how you bring up that you're from St. Thomas Parish, because my family, at least my mom's side, is from St. Thomas, the actual island in the USVI.
Okay. Big up the actual island too. I have to remind people because I was like, that's a country. And I'm like, actually, there's a parish. And I'm going to look it up, but my spirit did first. My spirit tells me that. So I don't care. I don't care what anyone says, really.
So this stuff with Naomi Osaka, it kind of hits home a little bit because
I feel like we've talked about this.
I honestly, so firstly, how Blood and Honey brought up the whole paid leave and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
It is so crazy because the company that I work for, one of these days, I'm just going to say bump it and just say the name so it feels good. But today's not that day. Yeah. But so the company that I was
I'll edit it out when you do.
The company that I worked for is owned by a UK company. And so because of that, we get all the benefits from the parent company, plus, the raggedy benefits that the American side will offer us. And we got 5 days of sick leave, 14 days of paid time off. And the year that I got promoted to full-time was the year that they made it so that basically it was basically you could use whatever for whatever. So you could use whatever for whatever. So say you wanted to use your sick leave towards your vacation, quote unquote time, you could do that. But and then the health insurance was also bomb. I was paying $100 a month. $100 out of each check, I should say.
Whenever people tell me this, I'm kind of like, that's high. I've worked at places that have completely covered it.
Yeah, no. Well, the health insurance. The health insurance I'm getting through the government right now is $70, and give and take. But the insurance that I got through that company was Aetna, and it was
Aetna's
covered It covered everything.
Yeah.
Everything. I barely had to pay for anything. And when I did have to pay for something, it was almost always under $100 unless I went to like the emergency room or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so crazy to me that these types of things are dependent on company, because my father's insurance, who I was on before I got kicked off when I turned 26, horrible. He never wanted to go to the doctor because it was always so expensive. And when I had to start going to the doctor a lot more and, you know, paying for prescriptions and everything, it was crazy. Like, they barely covered anything. When they did, you still had like crazy co-insurance co-payments. Prescriptions were not cheap. They barely covered prescriptions. It was madness. But back to Miss Naomi Osaka. That kind of hit home for me because I honestly, I found myself in that same exact situation. Like, I was talking about that, you know, a few weeks with you about, you know, with the whole, when they were trying to call us back in the work. And I said, I don't feel comfortable going back.
Oh, a contribution. I see where this is going.
I'm just like, I don't feel comfortable going back. And they were like, okay, well, you know, we'll see. And then they call me the next day and they're just like, well, we had a date for you and if you don't want to come. And I'm just like, okay, bye. And it was crazy because it's like, I don't know why I never ever expected for them to like do that mess to me, because I saw them do it to a lot of different other people, but it was just so surreal. And so I was just like, big ups to Miss Osaka. Like, go girl.
So many of us, honestly, like in the comments, like I think it was like one or two people. I don't remember. I try to look away when people are trying to like say foolishness. Mostly it's fine. People that are visiting. But people really think that you should tolerate abuse and foolishness from your employer. Like, we are conditioned to think like, oh yeah, pandemic is going on. I told you have to come into work next week on the 8th. And you really sit there and like, but what if there's a pandemic going on? I don't want to do that. And then we just kind of are just like in shock. Like, okay, well, I guess I'm getting fired now because I'm asking something reasonable for a reasonable accommodation, which is, well, I don't want to be around other people, maskless, Florida, acting a fool, because there's a panorama going on.
It's crazy. And like,
a lot of these companies are going to get sued. They're going to have a lot of potpourri lawsuits. I realized I said like pandemic 3 times. And I'm like, damn it, I got to edit it out.
It's crazy because on the company app, so I specifically, and some other people, but I specifically kept hammering them. So in the unlikely, quote unquote, that one of us gets COVID or someone comes into the park with COVID, what are you guys going to do about it? And when they finally answered the question after me asking it 4 times on 4 different posts, it was a whole bunch of fluff. And they're like, oh, if you have more questions, you can always, you know, like message us at this address. And I was just like, that's fine. That's fine. I'm not going to message y'all though, because this is something that everybody needs to see.
Yeah.
Y'all are not going to drag us back into a theme park
with dirty children. I'm the oldest of 7, love kids, but children are dirty. Let's be honest.
They are. They're disgusting.
They're cute, but like they wipe snot everywhere. Like, they're just gross. They're some humans too, child. Living the New York subway, I've seen some things I'd never needed to see. Never.
And it's like, the thing that gets me is they're all like, oh, well, we're gonna implement social distancing. And I'm just like, okay. First of all, in a theme park. With children. First of all, so they said that they were going to do that. They also said that they were going to make it so that it was cashless payments. Like, they, you know, we're going to have it so you guys have times where you can, you know, like clean up, because I worked in retail, you know, you can clean counters and things. And I'm just like, okay, first of all, children. Who's like...
One word.
Children. Y'all are expecting children to social distance. And this is the thing that also killed me about how they wanted to open up schools too.
This is the question right here, Mama T. So these lawsuits are going to come up. Now, would that be a wrongful death suit if they rush to reopen without taking proper precautions? Yes. Yes, as well as multiple ADA lawsuits. People are going to start suing. It's going to start happening. It's going to come out. I give it to like end of the year. We're going to start seeing a bunch of potpourri cases, since I need to stop saying the other P word because I hate editing. Also, one side note really quick. I'm loving that there are so many people from countries with better healthcare and better leave having these conversations, like just in shock that the US is in shambles. Because people really think like the US tax is cheap. I'm like, no, it's not.
It's not crazy
like,
to me.
We pay enough to cover these things. We just don't. So,
and it's like land of the free, home of the brave, except not. Unless you can afford expensive insurance plans, which
most people can't.
Every time, like, Affordable Care Act, like, it's crazy to me, all of these people who are against it just because people have dubbed it Obamacare, because let me tell you something.
And these are the same people that need it. They need the Affordable Care Act.
Exactly.
They need Obamacare.
And through the ACA, do you want to know how much I'm paying for my insurance now? $70 for health, $40 for dental. You want to know what my insurance plan is without the stipend or whatever you want to call it they give you? $500.
It's crazy.
$500 for me to have $5 copays at the doctor, $20 prescriptions, and free labs and other stuff, but still.
It's like you pay for insurance and then you pay the copay and then you continue to pay. I'm like, why? Like, I'm confused.
For me, it's just like, why should I have to spend an arm and a leg? Like, it's like you either spend an arm and a leg for these insurance companies or you spend an arm and a leg with the doctor's offices. Because I just got I take a couple different prescriptions, like 4 in total. And the companies that I get them filled through, they have this little tracker on their website where it lists how much I had to pay and then how much insurance paid.
I hate seeing that number because I'm like, who assessed the services I received, the services rendered to be this price? I'm just curious. There's a person, that's like somebody's job, but how are they getting to that number?
Exactly. And for like a bottle of my antidepressants, which that's another reason why I'm really happy, I'm finally back on those after 2 months. For a month supply of those, it's about $150.
That's crazy. People need to have access to affordable healthcare so they can live their life normally as they should be entitled to.
Right.
And but you commit crime and you do things, and just because you have a chemical imbalance, then, oh, you're going to the chokey. It's like, well, I wouldn't if you guys gave me my meds and that I would be a law-abiding citizen who could be helpful.
Exactly.
It's a cycle of foolishness.
And that's why I thought it was crazy. Like, even the fact that she had to pay a $15,000 fine because she didn't want to talk to press. Like,
and agreed to pay it, and they still decided that they were going to try and drag her. That's what really got me. She said, I don't have a problem giving you the money. I have the money. And they were like, upset.
That's what got me too. It's like, first of all, she shouldn't have had to pay that amount anyway. I'm sorry, controversial opinion. I don't think she should have had to pay that money, but like, she said she was fine paying it. Like, she said she was fine paying it, so I'm just like, okay, we're just gonna leave it at that. But I'm just like, they still tried to drag her. And it was freaking crazy to me because it's like, so even when you play by their rules, you're still in the wrong. Exactly. And people are still trying to drag her for it. Like, someone else in the chat earlier was just like, oh, well, if she doesn't want to do press, well, how do you think she's getting paid? She's getting paid by playing the sport.
Edible? Like, what do you mean? Y'all have to flag foolishness for me faster. I'm getting better with the block. I accidentally blocked somebody last time. I didn't mean to block. I was like, wait, I'm getting better. Well, thank you, Jace, for calling in. I'm going to go ahead and take Kareen's call.
All right. Thank you for having me as always.
Of course. And I'm glad that you're feeling a lot better.
Thank you.
Of course. Well, I'll catch you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. So let me add Kareen. These money. Say it again. These money demons. Oh, see, again, every time I tell y'all, like, I'm getting better technology. This was I was laughing at. These money demons are too much. They really profit. Profit kills morals in some people. Hello, Karine. How are you? Can you hear me? Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. It's a little staticky, but I can hear you.
Because I'm outside.
Uh-oh.
Now?
It's like cutting out.
Walking.
You're walking? Okay.
While I'm talking. Now,
do you want to hang up and call back, and then I'll take it?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's try that. Maybe you hang up and then call right back. Okay, cool. So we'll wait for Karine to call back. But yes, I think this is great. That also, I've learned so much new things by reading the comments. I did not know that South Africa had free medical care for government hospitals. That's great. All these things the U.S. doesn't tell people. I wonder why. Who? Wait, Calvin. Hold on. Calvin, where are you working? You should tell them they can't be just asking people that. Are they asking people in front of other people, child? Oh, God. Yes, to Mama T's point, if they're asking in front of other people, it's a huge HIPAA violation. Oh, I'm laughing because some of these companies just have no sense. No sense. All right. Okay. Hi, Karine. No. Yeah, it's just staticky. Oh, I'm so excited for you to call in too. Oh, well, it doesn't look like that's working. So if you want to call in, I think it's in there. But yeah, I think so. From Diana, great discussion. Hoping Naomi comes for them with an ADA EPSL lawsuit. The French are, fill in the blank. Let me stop. No, it's deserved. It's deserved. So if you don't know, good. Speaking of which, this will be a short, we'll see if she calls back in, a short plug. So 2 weeks ago, when we did our 10K celebration, I told you I wanted to do like another series called Colonizer Exposed, similar to like the Meghan Markle, The Crown video I did about colonization in the Crown. And who said it? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on whose idea it was because it wasn't my idea. Robert's idea was, because as you know, the trolls love to say whatever they want to say. And I want us to be able to have a productive discussion, which is hard when people want to say wild things. So Robert suggested starting a Patreon for that series and maybe like other things that you guys are interested in. And also sometimes the algorithm will shadow ban me when I talk about certain things. It has demonetized the video the last time we talked about how work is awful. And we talked about Harvey Weinstein a little bit and Scott Rudin. It demonetized the video. So I'm going to start a Patreon and we're going to do a Colonizer Exposed series on the Patreon. It's going to be interesting. So we're going to start with 5 countries. Belgium. And they're great. Worse, their Great Sin, which is the largest and worst genocide in history of the Congolese people. That a lot of people weren't even taught about, which I find disgusting at our school systems. So we're going to start with Belgium. Of course, you're going to do England. Couldn't forget them. France. So we can get into all the societal issues that France has caused, continues to cause. The U.S., because how could you not think that the U.S. is also a colonizer? Is a baby colonizer since the U.S. is younger. And then Spain, because Spain has really ruined the concept of nationality, race, and ethnicity for the Latinx populations, which is very sad. So we're going to discuss that too. So we are going to do those 5. I'm going to premiere it on Juneteenth, which is June 19th here in the US. And I will let y'all know next live when the Patreon is live, because I have to like set it up, and y'all know learning new technology is rough. And yes, I'm going to set the prices like super low. So that way, you'll get access to it even at like the lowest tier, which will be $2. So if you're interested, sign up for that. I think it'll be really interesting. And yeah, no worry, Karine. That's okay. You can call in like later, or we might hop off soon, but you can call in next time. I appreciate you calling in. Also, I'm really loving to learn about how much people are paying for insurance. The full shock, the shock that I personally received from getting like an insurance bill for the first time, like as an adult, I was like, why does nobody talk about this? Nobody explained this. Like, what do I owe this money for? I was just in full confusion. So UHC as well. Like, this is crazy. My employer portion is about $1,600 a month. Yes. Why does it even cost the employer that much? Like, I don't understand any of it. Oh, thank you. Also, I think it'll bring awareness to Juneteenth. So I have been very fortunate growing up. My best friend since childhood. Woo! I'm getting old. 20 years almost we've been friends. Shout out to Imani. She will be joining the 3-0 club soon. Is from Texas. So I grew up knowing what Juneteenth was because she like taught me about it and like it was like a big thing. I've known her since I was 11. I know ever since, at least in the US, ever since the unfortunate murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, a lot of corporate companies have now become aware. This is me saying this nicely, become aware of what Juneteenth is. So there is a big focus now on Juneteenth, which I think is good, as long as people really focus on what the hell it was, which is formally because they were freed. Enslaved Africans were freed due to the Emancipation Proclamation. And, white people in Texas took 2 years to tell them that they were free, which is trifling. It's literally a celebration of like, y'all ain't shit. Why would you do that? So I think corporate has kind of tried to scrub it over like, oh, it's celebrating freedom. No, it's celebrating the fact that we persevere in the all lie. So hopefully we can bring more, it really irks my nerve when people are like, oh, the death. I'm like, the murder, the violent murder. We wish. See, this is why my videos get demonetized, because I just say these things. But this is why we're going to have Patreon, so I can just say it. It's trifling. YouTube left should like poke at me. I think it likes to like poke at Black people. So yes, exactly. This is basically the motto for Juneteenth. And by y'all, y'all is in the white people of the time. And, now y'all need to work on doing better, starting with Juneteenth. So I think these companies, my big hope is, and someone pointed this out at my former job when Juneteenth started, was that a lot of our coworkers are like, I get a free day off. And it's like, no, insert name. You're not getting a free day off. You need to go reflect. You need to go reflect on what this holiday is and how you have contributed to microaggressions in the office and contributed to foolishness and why your ignorance has shielded you from knowing what this is. So, yes, just wanted to put that out there. So, yeah, well, thank you guys. This was great. I enjoyed all of this. This was a great conversation. And I love that the lives 8 times out of 10 circle back to, listen, protect yourself at work. And you have rights. And, if you don't stand up for yourself and force the self-care and set your boundaries, people will just take advantage of you. So shout out to Naomi Osaka for showing us all like, hey, we deserve some rest and some wellness too, particularly Black women, sending all of you a hug. And yes, because people be like, I'm getting left out. Black men too. Yes, you too. But particularly Black women. I said what I said. It's okay. All right. Okay, guys. Well, it should be a federal. I agree. Because one last tidbit about Juneteenth, and then I'll let y'all go eat your dinner, or in the UK, y'all up late, which is what happens during national holidays? Who are the majority of service workers? Black and brown people. So if you're going to make Juneteenth a holiday, which is for Black people, celebrating the liberation of Black people, the survival of Black people, but not ensure that Black people get the day off, what is the reason? What is the purpose? There is no purpose. I've had jobs where MLK is not a day off, and I've had to ask for the day, which I'm just like, what? I'm confused. What am I asking you this for? This is uncomfortable. So 1 a.m. over here, go to bed. But yes, all Black lives matter. Yes, correct. Black, yep. Yes. So yes, so remember that. And yes, that's actually a talk. Yeah, but we need to. Yeah, both of you guys are up to date. Well, thank you guys, and I will keep you posted. I'm gonna try make sure that's up by next week, and I'll let you guys know in the live, so you'll have the link and you can sign up. And I appreciate this. This was like a great discussion. So, if you take away anything from this, healthcare apparently is better everywhere else but America, as we all kind of knew. But the comments, I highly implore you, if you're watching this later, just read through the comments. There are a lot of good options. South Africa is very warm, just saying. Canada, a little bit cold, there are issues everywhere, but healthcare doesn't seem to be that big of an issue everywhere else. Just saying. So yeah, so take care of yourself, and I will see y'all next week. And I'll see y'all before then because we'll have videos, but I will see y'all on a live next week. And if you have like anything you want to see, like any suggestions, you can always leave them in the comments, and then I'll see them, and then we'll see if we can cover it. All right. See you guys later. Have a good night.